Many years ago in a insane asylum in Boston, there was a little girl named Annie, and she was so hopelessly insane that they had her in a small little locked cage down in the basement. The institution was modernized in every way, but they felt it was justified to treat her that way because she was hopelessly insane. Well, every day, an elderly nurse at the institution would go down and she'd sit in a chair next to the cage and she'd have her lunch there. And while she ate her lunch, she would talk to little Annie, sometimes sing her songs, and treat her like she was normal. One day, the elderly nurse brought some brownies. And she put them down outside little Annie's cage, but Annie didn't acknowledge her presence, didn't even recognize the fact that she was there. When the nurse came back the next day, the brownies were gone. So she did it again. The next day, the brownies were gone. Well, this became a routine. Every single day, the nurse would bring some delightful thing for Annie to eat. Well, the nurse went on and retired, but she continued to come back every noon to visit little Annie. Pretty soon, Annie began to change. The doctors recognized that she was advancing. They had new hope in treating her. And as she continued to advance and change, she was able to leave that small little space in the basement and move into a room upstairs. She continued to advance until it came to the point where she was able to leave the institution and go home. Well, Annie had grown so close to the people in the institution that she decided to stay there and work for them. And she did. Now let's fast forward many, 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 many years. Queen Victoria is giving one of England's highest awards to a woman named Helen Keller, who was born blind and deaf. And when Queen Victoria asked her what she owed to the incredible accomplishments she made, she said, without a doubt, it was the teacher my parents had hired when I was a young girl and totally out of control. Without her compassion, without her patience, my potential would never have been discovered. I would have been institutionalized forever. She said the teacher's name was Anne Sullivan. Many of you have heard. Anne Sullivan is little Annie. Now you stop and think about the incredible gift to the world that Anne Sullivan did by teaching Helen Keller. And you think about the incredible inspiration that Helen Keller was to the world. Both of them accomplished things that probably nobody in this room would be able to simply because of their handicap, simply because of their childhood history, and simply because of the conditions in which they were raised. But the universe conspired together to bring them together, and through that, we were blessed with this incredible awakening to human potential and the great inspiration for both Anne Sullivan and Helen Keller. But what about the nurse? What about the nurse that didn't really display any great talent other than compassion and love? What about the nurse that sat down there and ate her sandwich every day talking to little Annie as if she was a normal person? What about the nurse that baked brownies and brought them to her? She's just like you and me, just a human being, reaching out, touching somebody, helping somebody find their value. And once that value is established, people begin to grow. They begin to expand. If we compliment somebody on something, they're more likely to repeat that thing. If we compliment somebody on how loving they are, or what a nice smile they have, they will be more loving, and they'll begin to smile more. It's just natural. See, we all need each other. We need that exchange, that kindness, that compassion, that love, that support. We need to exchange that between each other, and that allows us all to grow to a higher level of human potential. As we move into meditation this morning, I want you to just stop and think about what it is you value in your life. And I want you to commit to that. I want you to embrace it. You are of value to this world, and you will go out and you will express your values, and the world will become a better place. In meditation.